Hey guys, Alex here. I'm walking in the park with Josie. You can tell that going to a hairdresser has been lower down on the list of priorities recently as we find ourselves in continued lockdown. Although things are starting to open up a little bit here in the UK, which is a good feeling. We're able to drive a bit further and see and experience things a bit further afield. Wanted to talk today as I venture into my own more focused career path as a writer. Previously, writing was kind of more of a side thing. Now I'm really taking on the idea, at least, of committing to writing in a more professional sense, writing to produce a certain amount of output every day, writing to create lots of books, mainly fiction, although I plan on continuing to talk non-fiction stuff and write non-fiction stuff, including articles and books. But I wanted to talk today about getting motivated to create material, especially if we've committed ourselves to a artistic journey, so to speak, whether it be writing or painting or design, illustration, craft, woodcrafting, whatever it is. A lot of us find it difficult to commit and to follow through with our commitments on ideally daily creative output. So in my sense, it's getting a certain number of words down every day. And what I've found is that I tend to get I always take note of the things that excite me, the things that interest me, the things that stir me up inside, because this is what ultimately a lot of this type of work is about. It's about finding your sweet spot in terms of what brings you to life, what makes you energized. That is a key component. It's not the only component for actually being able to make stuff, because often we don't feel like doing it. But the more we can get into the zone of feeling energized and excited about the work we're doing, the better. And what I've noticed over the years is when I stumble across other artists, other creatives, whether it be Picasso or Isaac Asimov, or even people like Enid Blyton, when it comes to creating lots of work, what's really excited me is always seeing people who create a lot, people who are prolific, people who I don't like the word churn so much, but I'm going to use it anyway. Churn, people who churn out a high volume of material every day, ideally. These are the people that have inspired me the most. For whatever reason, I know that quality is important. I've lost the dog. No, she's there. Quality is obviously a key part of making stuff that you want the world to enjoy and continue returning to, and all that kind of stuff. You want to be making sure that your work is as high quality as possible, but I think that volume and quantity is often underestimated, particularly in the sense that by committing to your own volume, your own prolific output, and being inspired by those who produce a lot, that for me is an exciting path, and tends to motivate me a lot more than anything else. If I try and be too good, if my only motivation is quality, if my only benchmark for production is doing great work, I'm never going to do anything, because I worry that I'm going to fall short of this perfection ideal that I've set for myself. And this is what puts off so many artists, so many creatives, is having this benchmark that's really high and telling themselves, I'm going to create really good work, I'm going to be the best writer I can be, I'm going to create the best book I can write. And of course that gives us a lot of pressure, doesn't it? It sets the bar really high, and we end up not doing it because we don't want to disappoint ourselves, we don't want to disappoint those around us. And I can relate to that. I have fallen short of creating a lot of material in my life that I could have put out because I was trying to be too perfect. And so I've always found it interesting when I read about, learn about people who have been really prolific. Obviously those who were prolific, like Picasso, who created great work, is amazing. But I even find it inspiring to hear about and learn about the stories of people who were really prolific, really had a high output, and weren't necessarily geniuses, and weren't necessarily producing the best kinds of work. Perhaps 80% of their work wasn't all that great, but occasionally they put out some nuggets of really good stuff. Asimov is one name that comes to mind, a science fiction writer who produced 500 plus novels in his lifetime, which I find incredible because he didn't even do it full time, I think. People like what's her name? Barbara. There's a romance writer who wrote, I don't know, like 20 books every year. And what's her name? Barbara Cartman, something like that. She produced a ton of books, like 700 and something novels in her lifetime. And most of it was total crap. But I find people like that as being more of a role model than those people who only put out 2 or 3 books in their lifetimes, and they were really good books. I mean, those I commend, of course, a lot, but I actually find myself being inspired more by people who just created a ton of stuff and were really prolific. And that really excites me because that gives me permission to not always create the best quality stuff. I've always found that when I commit to quantity rather than quality, I find myself getting more relaxed around the creative process. I'm not too fussed about the piece being really, really good and the writing to be perfect, and I get it out. So right now I'm working on a book for younger adults, a science fiction story, and I've been holding it off for literally 2 years. The story's been floating around in my head. It's a story about a guy who receives these telepathic visions from other aliens or something. I don't want to share too much of it because I want to let you know when the book actually comes out because I want to finish it. But this is a book that I was shelving for a long time because I was trying to make it to be too good. And in fact, I found that my productivity has gone through the roof now with this book because I've just allowed myself to make the book not that good. Like, I'm allowing myself to not be all that good with it. And what that does is it relaxes me enough to the degree, it relaxes me so that I'm able to write every day a decent amount of words. I can get material out, and then of course later I can edit it to be as good as it wants. And that's the key thing. It's about allowing yourself to not make the most perfect creative work, at least initially. You can always make it really good later, and that creates a ton more output than you ever thought you could. So I have a lot more to say on this stuff. I've obviously spoken about this stuff a lot in the past, but I'm going to be talking a lot more about this kind of thing, how to be motivated about creating, how to be motivated about writing, because as I've said in previous videos, I'm starting to venture more seriously into the world of writing. So those of you who are interested in developing your writing skills, writing books, and the power of being a writer and the benefits that brings to us, even in a crowded world, stay subscribed, stay posted here. I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff around writing, so do share your comments in the comment section below about like what kinds of things you want to hear me talk about when it comes to writing. But for this episode, just wanted to reiterate the value in committing to quantity, giving yourself permission to write and create a lot of not necessarily brilliant work, initially at least, and how I have found a ton of inspiration in people who have had the balls, the courage to put out a lot of stuff, especially in a world where people say you shouldn't be churning out crap, you should be focusing on quality. I think it's okay and actually should be encouraged. I think among the young and anyone who's venturing into anything creative is to allow them to make stuff that isn't all that good. And when you are okay with making stuff that isn't all that good, then of course you have the opportunity to edit later on anyway. But what it does is it eases you into the flow of creation. It makes it much easier to relax into creating. And I think the idea that you need to spend a year or two to write a novel, for example, is just an unhelpful myth, because no one ever commits to wanting to write a novel when they know it's going to take that long. Why would you spend a year or even 2 years writing a book that's not even going to necessarily be read by anyone or isn't going to make any money? It's just not a very exciting proposition for most, which is why you'll find that if you can allow yourself permission to write a novel really quickly in like a month or two, or a book or a novella, something even shorter, which is even more possible within a month, it starts to get exciting because you start realizing I can actually do this. I can create many books in a year. I can create a book every month. So allow yourself to commit to higher numbers of things, bigger outputs. So say, for example, if you're a writer and you commit to like writing 500 words every day, perhaps the reason you're not writing is because it's not very exciting for you. creating 500 words isn't making you energized. Maybe the commitment to 4,000 words every day, as crazy as it sounds, because in societally programmed world, 4,000 words sounds like a lot, but it's very doable if you spend 3 hours a day on writing and allowing yourself to not be too tight when you write. You could very easily do that and create multiple books every year, and think about what a book is going to do for you in your career. Anyway, I'll be talking more about this stuff in future. It's an interesting topic. Focus on quantity. Make your stuff as good as you can, obviously, but don't worry about that until later on in the editing process. Commit to prolific output. Have fun with it, guys. I'll be talking more about creativity and motivation in coming videos, so make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell notification button, hit the like button if you enjoyed this. Sending my love, and I will speak soon.